Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hello, this is New York City Public Advocate Letitia James. Are you the owner of a minority or women-owned business or small construction business? The City Certification Program can help you obtain greater access to and information about contracting opportunities, receive technical assistance to better compete for those opportunities, and benefit from inclusion in the city's online directory of certified firms. For more information, please contact Small Business Services by calling 311 or by visiting nyc.gov/311.
I'm Stephen Banks, Commissioner of the Human Resources Administration, or HRA. For many families and individuals, it can be a challenge making ends meet. If you need help getting healthy and nutritious food, go online to foodhelp.nyc or call 311 to learn more about SNAP benefits or to find local community kitchens and food pantries. It's never been easier to apply for food help. Start by visiting foodhelp.nyc.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
¿Trabaja o tiene empleados en la ciudad de Nueva York? El Departamento de Asuntos del Consumidor quiere informarles sobre la ley de ausencia laboral debido a enfermedad, la cual exige a la mayoría de los empresarios que les concedan a sus trabajadores permiso laboral por motivos de enfermedad, para cuidar de sí mismos o de algún familiar. Llame al 311 o visite nyc.gov/paid sick leave para saber si usted está amparado por esta ley. Nueva York trabaja mejor con el pago por ausencia laboral por enfermedad.
This is Commissioner Rick Chandler, and I invite you to build your career with the Department of Buildings. Our diverse workforce of specialists in engineering, architecture, and construction help make us a worldwide leader in development and construction safety. We're seeking over 300 construction professionals to join our team that allows New York City to build safely. For more information, visit our website at nyc.gov/buildings and access the careers link. You can also view our profile on LinkedIn.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
I'm Victor Calisi, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. Our office works to assure that people with disabilities can enjoy the rich opportunities our city has to offer. This includes the freedom to travel throughout New York City, a right most of us take for granted. For people with disabilities, traveling around the city can become a challenge when drivers fail to follow basic parking rules. Parking spaces designated for people with disabilities ensure equal access to goods and services. Parking without a permit in a designated space or using a fake permit is illegal. For more information, dial 311.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. Bicycles are out again in force, so it's worth reminding everyone, cyclists, motorists, and pedestrians alike, to pay attention and follow the rules of the road. Cyclists should ride in the street, not sidewalks. Ride with traffic, not against it, and observe all stop signs and traffic lights. This is Gail Brewer asking you to ride safely in Manhattan.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
We all deserve respect and dignity. I'm Carmelyn P. Malalas, Commissioner and Chair of the New York City Commission on Human Rights. We help fight discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodations, and educate the public on the city's human rights law. If you believe you've been discriminated against or are interested in learning about rights and obligations under the law, call 311 or visit nyc.gov/cchr. Together, we can build a more just and equitable city.
I'm NYC 311 Executive Director Joe Morrisroe. Are you a true New Yorker, always on the move? Download 311's free mobile app for real-time info and updates and to submit service requests on the go at nyc.gov/311.
Descarga la aplicación móvil gratuita de NYC 311 para obtener información en tiempo real y actualizada por medio de nyc.gov/311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer. My mandate is to watch the city's bottom line and grow our economy. That's why I hired the city's first chief diversity officer to increase contract opportunities for minorities and women across city agencies. If you are a minority or women-owned business and want advice on working with the city or contracting with our office, check out the Diversity Initiatives section of our website at controller.nyc.gov. Thank you.
This is Letitia James, New York City's public advocate. My office serves as a direct link between everyday New Yorkers and city government. Think of it as a watchdog that provides oversight for city agencies, investigates citizen complaints about city services, and makes policy recommendations. If you are in need of assistance and have had trouble getting through to 311, please call my office at 212-669-7250 or get help at pubadvocate.nyc.gov.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Our doors are always open, so it is illegal for a taxi to refuse you service because of your race, ethnicity, cultural background, disability, or gender, or based on your destination if it is within New York City, Westchester, Nassau, or Newark Airport. Please note, borough taxis can't pick you up in most parts of Manhattan. If you are refused service, contact 311. Make sure you have the medallion or borough taxi number, pickup location, date, and time. We need to know. You can make a difference.
Hello, I'm Donna Corrado, Commissioner of the Department for the Aging. Are you age 60 or older? Our 260 senior centers offer social, cultural, educational, and health and wellness workshops, assistance with benefits, nutritious meals, and other life-giving activities. To learn more about DFTA, please call 311 or visit nyc.gov/aging. And remember to check on your elderly neighbors, especially during extreme weather emergencies.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hello, I'm Parks Commissioner Mitchell Silver. New York City Parks is fostering equity in our parks by creating thriving public spaces for all New Yorkers. The Community Parks Initiative is bringing that work to neighborhoods that need it most by investing more city resources, including funds, staff, recreational programming, and partnership building in 55 historically under-resourced communities. The Community Parks Initiative will engage New Yorkers in rebuilding their parks, including 35 playgrounds in the project's first phase. Our goal will create new reasons to get out and get fit, and to connect more of us to green spaces in our neighborhoods. For more information on the Community Parks Initiative, upcoming public meetings, and to find out how you can get involved, visit the New York City Parks website at nyc.gov/parks or call 311.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer announcing my new storefront Northern Manhattan office. Whether it's helping to protect mom and pop stores, improving technology in schools, or encouraging community and rooftop gardens, we are proud to be helping Manhattan neighborhoods. Learn more by visiting the new office at 431 West 125th Street or calling 212-531-1609 for an appointment.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
If you're a vendor interested in doing business with the city, we encourage you to visit the City Comptroller's Vendor Roadmap. It can be found on the Comptroller's website, comptroller.nyc.gov. The Vendor Roadmap will give you essential information, requirements, and considerations for existing and prospective vendors, and also includes helpful links for MWBE and emerging business enterprises.
Hi, I'm Department of Buildings Commissioner Rick Chandler, reminding New Yorkers
Can you see? All right. Well, this is an important day in ensuring our people are safer and fighting crime all over this city. I'm proud to sign laws that are going to save lives and improve the quality of life for New Yorkers. And the most important thing we're focused on today is stemming the tide of K2 in our communities. We're here today thanks to the leadership and dedication of the lead sponsor of this legislation, Council Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, and her fellow sponsors, Councilmember Ruben Wills and Councilmember Dan Garodnick. I want to thank them all for their leadership. They've been dogged in ensuring that we address this issue and address it quickly. I want to thank so many others who are with us. You'll be hearing from a number of them in a moment, but I want to also thank our Health Commissioner, Dr. Mary Bassett, our NYPD Chief of Department, Jimmy O'Neill. I want to thank Assistant Deputy Commissioner for the Civil Enforcement Unit of the NYPD, Robert Messner. I want to thank, of course, the commanding officer here at the 2-5 Precinct, Deputy Inspector Thomas Harnish. I want to thank Deputy Commissioner John Miller for Counterterrorism and Intelligence, and Sheriff Joseph Facito of the Department of Finance. So thank you to all, and to our friends at the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice. Everyone together worked on addressing the K2 issue quickly and energetically. Let's be clear, K2 is a poison. It is a poison that threatens public safety and public health. And it's taken a toll on too many New Yorkers and too many communities already. It's something we haven't seen the likes of in the past, and it was crucial before this trend got any worse to act decisively. So we're getting K2 off of our streets and out of the hands of New Yorkers before it causes more harm to our city. East Harlem has sadly seen the worst of this situation. The 2-5 precinct covers East 125th Street, which has really been hit hard by the plague of K2. And the officers in this precinct have been on the front line of this battle, and they've done an extraordinary job fighting this new menace. We've also had tremendous support from local residents who wanted to be part of the solution and worked hand in hand with the NYPD to turn the tide. Too many families watched as victims were afflicted by this drug, and they saw the horrible impact it was making in their lives. They saw the ambulances coming to pick people up. Obviously, the residents realized quickly this was something new and dangerous, and it needed a vigorous response. So we've had a great partnership with community residents in addressing this issue. We're involved already in aggressive and targeted enforcement. Since July, the city has conducted 5 multi-agency inspection operations, seizing over 10,000 packages of K2 from sellers. And we've used our nuisance abatement laws against 7 stores. So we've used the tools that we had, and on top of that, a tremendous operation last month, NYPD intelligence unit working directly with the DEA to dismantle a citywide distribution ring. They seized $17.5 million worth of K2 and the ingredients and the paraphernalia used related to K2, and it led to indictment of 10 individuals. So there's been a very vigorous set of actions taken, but we knew we needed stronger laws to do more. So today we take the next step. These laws do not punish the individuals that are held hostage and held in the grip of this toxic drug. We understand that some of the people who use this drug are amongst the most vulnerable in our city and often include those who are dealing with mental health issues already. So the law doesn't focus on attacking the victim. It focuses on criminalizing the process that brings this poison into people's hands. In the 60 days when this law takes effect, if you manufacture K2, if you possess K2 with the intent to sell it, or if you sell K2, you are now going to come up against the greatest police force in the world that's now going to be empowered by these new laws to act more aggressively. Selling K2 will be a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in prison and a possible fine of $5,000, as well as civil penalties of up to $50,000. And laws further make the sale a cause to suspend or revoke a business's license to sell cigarettes. So this law will give us an additional power to go at the economic core of a lot of businesses if they, in fact, engage in this heinous action. It threatens the ability of many of these stores to stay open. If they engage in selling K2, we will go at their livelihood and we will shut them down. Finally, the legislation allows sealing and closing orders to be issued against stores that repeatedly sell K2. So very aggressive measures to deal with the economic realities behind K2. These laws together send a clear message to anyone who sells this poison. We will find you and we will stop you. And our message to anyone who uses the drug and needs help is we are here to help you. Help is available, treatment is available, so people can get out of the clutches of this awful drug. It's an important day today, but we know it is a beginning. There'll be a lot of work to implement these laws and a lot of our ongoing efforts to educate New Yorkers about the risks and to get people who need treatment to the treatment they deserve. We're doing this because it's the right thing to do, and we're also doing it out of our deep respect for community residents who have had to deal with this scourge in their neighborhoods. One of them I want to mention, Ephraim Boone, who's here today. Ephraim, where are you? Stand up for a moment so everyone can see you. I want to thank Ephraim, who's been a great community activist. He's seen the horrors of K2 in his community. He's literally seen them right outside his door. And he stood up and worked with the police and with community leaders to make a change. And I want to just give you a simple quote that Ephraim said, which is really encouraging, because Ephraim, you saw this scourge develop, and then you saw the intensity of the response. As you said, quote, now, every time I turn around, the police run in and bust a store again. When people see that, that's a sign that the city is working. Everyone's working together. These bills are change. It will send a strong message, and that's what we need. So, Ephraim, we thank you for being at the front line fighting this menace, and we're going to help you and help the police to get the job done and to end this scourge. Let me say a few words in Spanish. Las tres leyes que firmo hoy son muy importantes para combatir la producción y venta de drogas sintéticas en la ciudad. Las drogas sintéticas son un veneno. Al criminalizar la producción y venta de estas drogas, protegeremos las vidas de muchas personas y la calidad de vida de nuestras comunidades. With that, I want to bring forward the speaker. She's been an extraordinary voice and leader in this effort, and she really brought to all of our attention the depth of the problem based on what she was seeing in her district and the fact that we had to add to the tools that we needed to fight this scourge. The working group that we put together to address issues in East Harlem quickly identified the need for additional legal strength that would add to the work of the NYPD and Department of Consumer Affairs and Department of Health. I want to thank the speaker for her leadership and for her commitment to addressing this issue in her district, but also in all 5 boroughs. Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito.
Well, buenas tardes, good afternoon to everyone, and in particular, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for holding this press conference here. You've mentioned a lot of those that are representing. I know there's a lot of community leaders here. I see representatives from our local community board, Community Board 11. I see our district leader, John Ruiz, here. This is of concern to many of us, and that is why you have such an active presence here of our community leaders. So having this press conference here is an affirmation of all the work that we've been struggling with for some time. And personally, you have been literally hands-on when we brought this concern about what was happening on 125th Street to you. Not only that you convened this task force, but you personally attended those meetings. So your interest in really helping us was present from the beginning, and now we are here in the culmination of this bill signing. So I want to thank you personally for that. So today we're taking another step in improving the quality of life in neighborhoods all across New York City by enacting strong laws to combat the spread of K2. While K2 is sold as a synthetic alternative to marijuana, we've seen time and again that it is in fact a very dangerous and unpredictable drug. It is a poison. Those in search of a cheap and legal substitute to marijuana are led to believe that the drug has similar effects, but the effects of K2 can be life-threatening. The City Council has led the charge to get K2 off the shelves and away from our most vulnerable citizens. As the council member representing El Barrio East Harlem, this has been an issue of great personal importance to me, with 125th Street and Lexington Avenue being the epicenter of this problem. I also want to thank the leadership of my colleagues, Councilmember Wills, who has been dealing with this issue for a couple of years, and also Councilmember Garodnick, and we're here with Councilmember Vanessa Gibson as well. Today, we're taking a very real step with these laws, but the success of our efforts is rooted in a collaborative process between the council, the administration, the NYPD, and other city agencies. That's why even before today's new laws take effect, we've been taking steps to get K2 out of this very neighborhood with the help of Commanding Officer Deputy Inspector Tom Harnish and the 125th Street Task Force, which my office convened in response to a host of quality of life issues along that corridor, including the use of K2. Some additional members of that task force are here today, and the mayor just introduced him, including Ephraim Boone and J.J. Williams, who live right in the 125th Street area and dealt with the effects of K2 every single day. They were strong advocates for their neighborhood and great partners as we developed the strategies we've employed to combat this drug. We're also happy to be joined by representatives from the BRC Men's Shelter, Hope Community, and as I mentioned, Community Board 11. I also want to give a special thanks to my district office and my Deputy Chief of Staff, Diana Ayala, who is here, that my district office has been at the forefront of this issue. With the power of these new laws, these same partners can take even more action to stop the spread of this dangerous substance. Let me be clear, though, that these laws are focused on getting K2 off our streets, not criminalizing users of it. To that end, these laws will deal with the stores that distribute and sell K2, not stigmatize or punish the vulnerable populations that are statistically likely to try the drug. These are smart laws that were created while considering and learning from the realities we've observed about drug policy in our city. And these laws are going to be effective in protecting New Yorkers from one of the more dangerous substances that has unfortunately found its way onto our streets. So again, I want to thank all my colleagues in the council. I want to thank Mayor de Blasio, Commissioner Bratton, Commissioner Menon, and all the city agencies who have worked with us to address this issue, Commissioner Bassett as well. And I'll say a few words in Spanish. Hoy estamos dando otro paso en la mejora de la calidad de vida en barrios a través de la ciudad de Nueva York mediante la promulgación de leyes estrictas para combatir la propagación del K2. Mientras que K2 se vende como una alternativa sintética a la marihuana, que hemos visto repetidamente que es en realidad una droga muy peligrosa e impredecible. Aquellos en busca de un sustituto barato y legal a la marihuana son llevados a creer que la droga tiene efectos similares, pero los efectos de K2 pueden ser potencialmente mortales. Como miembro del consejo que representa el barrio, este ha sido un tema de gran importancia personal y por eso estamos aquí, para que el alcalde firme estos 3 proyectos de ley. Estas leyes se enfocan en eliminar K2 de nuestras calles y no en criminalizar a los usuarios, y eso es bien importante recalcar. Me gustaría agradecer a mis colegas en el Consejo Municipal, al alcalde de Blasio, al comisionado Bratton, la comisionada Menon y a todas las agencias que están aquí presentes hoy. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Speaker. Now it's my honor to bring forward our police commissioner. As I said, we have a constant dialogue going on at City Hall on how we can adjust to any changes we see, and the discussions in the East Harlem Task Force led to discussions that Commissioner Bratton and I have every week, and we immediately determined the need for stronger laws. We had tremendous leadership in the City Council to get it done, so this is absolutely a group effort and a speedy group effort. I want to thank you, Commissioner, for your leadership. Commissioner Bill Bratton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Echoing the mayor's comment about speed, I've been in the business a long time, 45 years this year, and this is one of the few times where I've actually seen government come together so quickly around an identified issue. All levels of government, at the federal level, here at the city. And when this issue first began surfacing, the prevalence of hospital admissions from this new type of drug that we knew very little about, that the Speaker was certainly seeing it more prevalent in her district than just about any place else in the city. Federal government was starting to see it around other areas of the country, including Washington, D.C., Miami, that there was a quick coalescing about what can we do? What tools do we have to deal with it? At the federal level, they had significant tools through the DEA, and we immediately engaged with them, with the Southern District, to work with them on the larger case that the mayor mentioned that you covered earlier this summer, where we recovered over 2.5 million packets of this. We were able to break up the distribution network, and we were also able to seize the properties where they were creating these packages here in New York. At the same time and simultaneously, the city was moving together in a very collaborative way, health and hospitals, the various commissioners who were here, working with the neighborhood groups and the creation of the task force that the mayor mentioned, to identify what could we do better at the city government level, even as the feds were assisting us at their level. From that came the series of laws. I want to applaud the council for the quick both creation of the laws but passage, because they will give us, the police, additional tools to work with, tools to deal with particularly the sale of this particular drug, and a drug that has extraordinarily harmful capabilities. One of the dangers of K2 is different people react very differently to it. And part of the issue of K2 is no two packets are exactly alike in terms of the content, because the way it is prepared, the way it is created, the way they're constantly changing the formula, you never quite know what dose you're getting or what dose of what particular package of chemicals. And we have seen extraordinary issues over the summer of how people react to this, and usually in a very negative way. We have also created, up in the area most significantly affected by this, in that 125th Street, Lexington corridor, a task force that's reporting out of this precinct, 30-somewhat officers, a lieutenant, 5 sergeants, 30 officers, 24-hour day coverage specifically in that area to address not only the K2 problem, but the many other related areas of concern in that area. Additionally, in the subway stations in that location, we have additional patrols. So what you are, what's being reported on today is the results of the collaborative effort, federal, local. But the good news is that we've been very successful, I think, in stopping what could have been a tidal wave. But we're not stopping there. We are effectively adding to our ability to build up our bulwark against it basically coming back at us again. So the laws we get to work with, the additional resources the inspector at this precinct has to work with, as well as some of the additional attention in the several other precincts that are experiencing this problem, we have the ability to really collaboratively as a government really stop what was shaping up to be an incredible health hazard. Good news is, since the month of June and July, when the highest number of admissions from overdoses began to be experienced by the hospitals, those admissions are down about 21%. Also, the most recent raids that we've conducted, we're finding minimal amounts of this drug in those bodegas. I think the ones we conducted last week, they found 6 or 7 packets in one location versus the hundreds and thousands we were finding back in June and July. So great progress with community involvement, community leadership, great progress with the leadership at the local political level, great progress at the city level with the mayor, and great progress with our colleagues at the federal government. Government working at its best collaboratively, and I think being quite frank, I think we really averted a major public health crisis. It was bad enough what we're experiencing, but it could have been a lot worse. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. In addition to NYPD, we've had great leadership from other city agencies, and Department of Consumer Affairs has used all of its regulatory power to send a very clear message to store owners that the sale of K2 will not be tolerated. And again, we're going to use a lot of the tools at our disposal, plus the new tools that these laws will give us, to make sure there are very, very serious economic consequences for any store owner that breaks the law and endangers people through the sale of this drug. We're also going to have a strong public education campaign to make sure that the store owners understand the consequences here, both the human consequences and the ramifications of being involved with this drug. Leading that effort is our Commissioner for the Department of Consumer Affairs, Julie Menin.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, and I really want to thank the mayor and their speaker for their aggressive and very strong leadership on this issue that has really given the various city agencies you see here today additional powers. DCA is proud to have played a key role in the city's multi-agency response to combat K2. The drug, as you heard the mayor and speaker talk about, have been plaguing so many neighborhoods across New York City and has been sold in bodegas and other stores which DCA licenses. Specifically, we license over 9,000 such establishments across the city. And what these new laws do in terms of DCA's jurisdiction is the new law imposes a mandatory suspension of a cigarette retail dealer's license for 30 days for the first violation and mandatory revocation for the second violation. This really has very key economic consequences because for so many establishments, they derive the majority of their revenue from the sale of cigarettes. We've also joined the multi-agency response. As the mayor has said, we've seized, along with NYPD and the sheriff's office, over 10,000 packets of K2. We've issued violations for violations of the state's agriculture and market laws, and we've also issued violations for the city's consumer protection law for claims that the product is potpourri, incense, the use of cartoon characters, all of which are patently false claims. Lastly, I just want to mention, as the mayor said, we are working very closely with the health department to disseminate a public awareness campaign. It's multimedia. You'll see it over the course of the next couple weeks. It's aimed at three populations: users, potential users, and retailers. And lastly, we are going to be holding a conference along with Health and MOCJ, a citywide summit on K2 on November 16th at Brooklyn Law School. So once again, I really want to thank the council and the mayor for giving us these enhanced tools that will help us to continue our efforts to crack down on K2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now I'd like to hear from two of our colleagues from the City Council who are co-sponsors of this legislation and played an important role in getting it passed. Councilmember Reuben Wills.
The K2 that once flowed freely from stores to streets, traffickers could, thank you, Speaker. Traffickers could market their products to children by using catchy names and glossy packaging to captivate them. Manufacturers could successfully sidestep our state's laws by constantly churning out chemical compounds that couldn't be cataloged quickly enough, and our city's law enforcement and civilian agencies lacked the power to effectively deter the sale of these hazardous substances. With the signing of these bills, we will begin to choke off the K2 pipeline by imposing severe penalties on the operators of known synthetic marijuana distribution centers. Our thoughtful yet forceful response to this public health crisis is carefully designed not to burden individual users. I want to thank the leadership of the mayor, Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito, Council members Corey Johnson, Vanessa Gibson, and Daniel Grodnick. And I do also want to take a quick 30 seconds to thank my staff who were with throughout this. My Chief of Staff, Leslie Ann Patterson, India Sneed, my former Director of Legislative Affairs, my current Director, Brandon Clark, and my Director of Community Liaisons, Jahai Rose. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you for the Commissioners.
Thank you. Finally, I want to hear from the Chair of the Public Safety Committee in the City Council. We work with on so many of these issues. Councilmember Vanessa Gibson.
You guys didn't clap for me? No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure and honor to stand with all of my colleagues, with the mayor, police commissioner, the speaker of the city council, all of our commissioners, and all of you. We are truly standing here collectively recognizing the fact that K2 has erupted in our communities. It tears at the heart and soul of our communities, the public health and public safety of all New Yorkers. Let's be clear that the climate and the environment that we set, the tone we set as a council, as a city, is profound in recognizing that we're going after manufacturers and distributors of this dangerous product. The fact that it has an attractive wrapper, it's inexpensive, it's called K2, AK-47, synthetic cannabinoids, Scooby snacks, and the like. The fact that it is all too common in our local grocery stores and bodegas is unacceptable. We are being extremely aggressive in our approach in not victimizing users, potential users, but recognizing that we must stop this in its tracks. Today's legislation and signing of this legislation is our commitment as public servants, that we are recognizing that we must treat this as a public health and public safety crisis. We are embarking on a public service campaign where we are educating New Yorkers on the dangers of K2. The fact that there have been thousands of hospitalizations across our city of individuals who are using this. The fact that we know that there are underlying causes and roots of drug users using drugs in the first place. And so we will deal with that as we continue to work. But we must recognize that the few bad apples will not make it bad for the entire communities in which we live in, work, and raise our children. And so I am thankful as the chair of public safety to stand here with all of my colleagues showing my commitment, making sure that these bills become law. We are declaring it a public nuisance. We're going to go after those that have a cigarette retail license. If you want to do business in this city and you want to work with us and be a part of the solution and not the problem, then we need you to stop selling K2 to our residents in this city. So I am thankful to be here. This is a collective process. The journey does not stop today. We have a lot of work we will continue to do. And thank you to the leadership of Mayor Bill de Blasio, of all of our commissioners, Dr. Bassett, Commissioner Menon, Police Commissioner Bratton. Thank you to the Speaker of the City Council, Melissa Mark Viverito, not only recognizing this right here in her community, but recognizing that we must be aggressive in our approach. Thank you to my colleagues, Council Members Corey Johnson, Dan Garodnick, Ruben Wills, Ralph Espinal, who chairs Consumer Affairs. We come together with common priorities and common principles and values that we are going to protect the public health and the public safety of every New Yorker. So thank you all for being here. East Harlem, thank you for standing up when many sit down. Continue to stand up, continue to fight for our community's safety and well-being. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to take questions on the legislation and on fighting K2, and then on other police matters, then we'll take off-topic questions. Yes?
Mr. Mayor, a few minutes before you started this press conference, Governor Cuomo set up announced a PSA campaign focusing on this specifically and also prescription drug abuse. Is it the announcement also coordinated with your office?
I think it's, I just heard about it now. I think it's a great initiative. So it wasn't coordinated as far as I know, but I think it's certainly kindred and welcome.
Is it a problem that it wasn't?
Again, I think it contributes to the same goal. So I think it's good. What else?
Deputy Commissioner Miller, a question.
Indeed.
You're calling me short?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Yes, Mary.
Commissioner, we've been reporting on this for several months, and there were concerns raised last year, raids around the country with the money, where it was going, millions that were being wired overseas. Last week, the DEA did raids and mail facilities and acknowledged that the money was often going to countries of concern in the Middle East. Are you concerned the K2 sales and the other synthetic cannabinoid sales are financing terrorism?
Yes, we're concerned with the question, but we don't know the answer. One of the origins of this case within the Intelligence Bureau of the NYPD stemmed from the idea that hundreds of millions of dollars associated with K2 was traveling out of the United States to a number of countries, but largely among them Yemen. And when you look at the situation in Yemen between the Houthi rebels, Al-Qaeda of the Arabian Peninsula, and other factors there, you would have to ask, where's the money going and what's it going to finance? And that is not part of the narcotics conspiracy case that was brought here in the Southern District of New York, but it is one of the intelligence gaps surrounding this issue.
Okay, first again, K2 questions first, then we'll sign the bill, then we'll come back and do off-topic.
People could be arrested, or stores, bodega owners that are selling it, if
but how much do they need to have for you to consider they're selling it? We know with marijuana, it's the 25 grams or less. If you have that, you're not considered to be selling it. Somebody has, what, 5 packets, 20 packets, 500 packets?
Who wants to speak to the specifics of the standard? Who's got it?
Rob Messner.
Rob, come on up.
Thank you, sir. Identify yourself, if you don't mind.
I'm Assistant Deputy Commissioner Rob Messner of the NYPD Civil Enforcement Unit. So the statute, the new law, criminalizes K2 in any amount, but it also contains a presumption that if a person possesses 9 packages of K2, that presumption says they're possessing it with intent to sell.
Okay. Other questions? Questions on K2?
Yeah, this side.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bratton or Commissioner Miller, there was concern and there was a lot of reports that a lot of the K2 is originating in China, in labs there. I don't know how organized it is. What is your sense of it now? Is China a major source of the drug, or are you seeing it here?
China has been and continues to be the principal source of the chemicals that are used in the creation of K2. It's a combination of chemicals that are mixed in all types of different formulas, usually trying to stay one step ahead of existing laws by changing the makeup. They basically step outside the scope of the law. That the feds are able to address that with their tools. And then the manufacture of the K2 is usually done here in the United States, where it's sprayed on leaves that look like marijuana, thus the name synthetic marijuana. But the source, as far as I know, the only source of the chemicals that are used in this is China. John, unless you have more recent intelligence than I do on that.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. Yes.
Mayor de Blasio, has the city been able to determine how many deaths, if any, have been attributed to K2?
Let's see if our health commissioner will take that. Mary Bassett.
There's been one substantiated death attributed to K2 in the city. Of course, across the nation, there have been more deaths reported. And we do have cases of people ending up in the intensive care unit. So there should be no question that this is dangerous stuff and that it has untoward health consequences. But so far, just one death.
Are you tracking it?
We are. We track emergency department visits, which are our principal way of identifying the occurrence and use of K2 in the city. It's what enabled us to identify this neighborhood as a place where there was a great deal of K2 originating because of emergency department visits. And it's what we're going to use going forward to see how well we do in removing this from our streets and reducing emergency department visits.
Last thing on that. Could you, by any chance, do you have the number of ER visits available?
Sure, we can make those available. They've been made available on various health alerts, which we use to alert the healthcare community that this is a problem. We've released 3 of those, and those are all publicly available.
I can follow. How difficult is it when people go in? Because I understand when they go in, if they're hallucinating or other issues, that some hospitals may not be up on, oh, this is an episode of K2 use. How difficult is it when you take all of these EMS loads of folks to the hospitals and they're using K2 and can't figure out what's going on with them?
You're right that this can be extremely variable in its presentation. As numbers of the speaker, Commissioner Bratton, have mentioned, the composition of this product is very variable. People, when they hear the word synthetic marijuana, I think they have an image of somebody in a white lab coat in a lab making something up according to a protocol. It's not like that. The thing you should think of is somebody in a T-shirt in a warehouse hosing down leaves with some concoction that's made up of chemicals that they bought on the internet that are called synthetic cannabinoids. So the symptoms can be very variable. From nausea, vomiting, lethargy, which is now quite common, to agitation, hallucinations. People actually aren't often violent. And that's why we alert healthcare providers with our health alerts that we send out to 25,000 email addresses so that they'll think of this when people come into the hospital and ask the question. There's no specific antidote. We have to treat people symptomatically, but we do want the healthcare provider community to be aware of it so that they identify it and they report it to us and they treat the patient.
One
Deputy Commissioner.
Just one other thing that we've been tracking is in a snapshot that was taken 10 days after the K2 takedown that involved Rob Messner's people and the nuisance abatement, the seizure of all the material in the federal case, we saw a 28% decline in K2-related emergency room visits. So what we are hoping is, armed with this law and the ability to continue enforcement on the retail level of the sales network, that we can continue that decline. There is a separate answer to your question, which is there are deaths that may be categorized by the medical examiner as resulting from K2, but we're seeing other deaths that will be categorized as other things. In late July, I was on the Hudson River at Pier 46 when a man smoked K2, jumped in the river, and drowned. He was recovered a short time later. The cause of death there will be drowning, but K2 is a significant contributing factor. This weekend, just up the street, we had a woman found dead. We interviewed the man who was with her. He said they spent the night drinking and smoking K2. We're waiting on the cause of death there, but you're going to have to understand that will be a contributing factor. So the numbers may be deceiving about the level of seriousness of the problem.
Okay, on this topic, yes?
With some of the youth, they think they're smoking marijuana, but they seem to have K2 symptoms. To what extent is this being sprayed on marijuana to give it an extra kick to that extent?
Is that, Mary, do you want to speak to that?
I actually don't know the answer to
PD?
that question. You're asking whether there's sort of boosted marijuana out there, and I don't know. I don't think any of us back here have seen it. The problem with K2 is that it's cheap. It's been too available. And that's why the main public health approach to it is to reduce the availability, get it off the streets. And we know we can do that because we have been doing it. We've seen these declines citywide. But I don't know about boosting marijuana.
Okay, other questions on this? Rich?
Mr. Mayor, for you or maybe the police commissioner, how would you characterize those who continue to sell this product now that the outcomes, the detrimental effects are well known?
Yeah, look, it's absolutely unacceptable. It's immoral. Anyone who sells this product is endangering other people's lives, and they're acting in a criminal manner, and we're going to get them. It's as simple as that. And, you know, it's not something people can explain away. There's plenty of information now out there about how dangerous this is. And so any business that does this, we're going to go at them using criminal charges, but we're also going to go at them economically.
Mayor, what kind of effects do you think K2 is having on the city's homeless population?
Again, the information is limited because this is a new trend, but we have seen in this area, in East Harlem, a real negative impact on the homeless. And it's cheap and too available. And too many people who had other kinds of problems started reaching out to K2 and only made their lives much, much worse. And so, you know, we want to get this at the root. We want to get it early, as Commissioner Bratton said, before the situation got out of control. But the goal, as with everything we are doing in terms of homeless folks, is to try and figure out what will get them on the right path. So if these are folks who already are susceptible to a drug habit, we want to get them the treatment to get them away from that kind of problem.
Question. The state ban isn't as strong as a city. Are you hopeful that the state will follow the city's lead?
Well, absolutely. We want the strongest tools available to law enforcement. So we think what we have here is going to help us immensely, but the more the better. Yeah.
Today has been mentioned that 125th and Lex was the epicenter for this K2 epidemic. For folks who live and work in that area, I'm sure they want to know what made their neighborhood such a hotbed for K2.
You know, I don't think again, this is a new phenomenon. I don't think we have all the analysis here. I think what we know, and thanks again largely to the leadership of Speaker Mark Favorito, is we identified the problem and then put a series of actions into place very quickly to address it. And now these laws will give us many more tools. So the bottom line is when we find a new issue or a new problem, it's our job to act quickly, and I think this will turn the tide. Yeah.
I understand the fines against the businesses selling the K2, but what I found out of the story that the Daily News did was that a lot of people were buying it from their peers on the street out of plastic bags, just handing them what they call sticks. And since the bust in the Bronx, the price it doubled on the street. And what would you do against, regarding the people on the street selling the K2?
Let's let our, who'd like to jump in?
Rob?
Up there again.
Well, this new law does criminalize sale of K2 in any venue. It doesn't have to just be in a store. So someone who was selling K2 on the street would also be in violation of this law and would therefore be arrested and prosecuted.
Simple and straightforward. Yes.
I know that you're not targeting the people who use K2, but obviously if there was no demand, people wouldn't be selling it. Is there going to be an effort to convince people, some of them homeless, not to use K2?
Absolutely. In terms of both public education campaigns in general that will reach everyone, but also the outreach work the Department of Homeless Services does is explicitly to tell people about things that might be dangerous to their health and to encourage them to get the help they need, for example, drug treatment or mental health services. So it's very much a part of what we do is to try and get people away from negative influences into a better path. Okay, any other police-oriented questions? Go ahead.
You mentioned that you had a lot of help from the community in this effort. I was wondering if there was a lot of contact too with the bodega owners, and how would you qualify the relationship with them?
Yes, absolutely. Now that these new laws will be going into effect shortly, we are going to be reaching out to every bodega owner. As I mentioned, DCA licenses 9,000 establishments that sell cigarettes, and so we're going to be reaching out to the bodega community to talk to them. In addition, the public awareness campaign, as I mentioned, is targeted to sellers, to users, to potential users. One of the big messages we want to get across is that K2 is dangerous, that the claims are being made are fraudulent, it is being marketed as one thing, but it is really something entirely different. And so we really need to hammer home that message very, very clearly, and that's what our public awareness campaign will do.
Okay. Please, Michael.
I have a question for Commissioner Braden. You're part of a national group of leading police officials and prosecutors who are preparing to say that the rate of mass incarceration in the country is now unsustainable, and you're hoping to seek reforms to address that. I wanted to ask you, why now? Was there a tipping point in your thinking that prompted you to take that position?
There's nothing new about my thinking on this. Back in 1995, I talked about when we began to significantly increase the arrests in the city for both the serious crime that was afflicting the city, but also the quality of life that was a much bigger problem back then. I described it as a bell curve, that to control behavior, to change behavior, you're going to have to control it. In New York City for 25 years had failed in its ability to control the behavior of its citizens to obey the law, serious and minor. We corrected that first with fare evasion in the subway, basically issues around quality of life issues in the subway, then in the streets with the squeegee pests and many of the other issues that were so troubling, prostitution, sale of narcotics on the streets. But we predicted there would be a bell curve, and that bell curve has in fact happened. If you look back at 95, 96, that Rikers had about 22,000 people a day on daily population. Rikers right now probably has almost as many corrections officers as it does inmates, about 10,000. State prison, since we're the primary feeder of state prisons in this state, that 40% decline is primarily because of the reduced amount of crime and the reduced amount of arrests necessary to control that crime. So the national movement here is something I'm very supportive of because we've been talking about it for 20 years, and this state has been leading the way, this state and city, for a number of years on that effort, and has been well ahead of the curve on understanding that you can't arrest your way out of the problem. So I'm a strong advocate of arrest where appropriate, but under the law we're given great tools to work with: arrest, admonition, summons, citation, and that's the approach we've been taking and the approach we'll continue to take.
Is decriminalizing some of those minor offenses a way toward reducing the incarceration rate?
Well, certainly. We have seen that in terms of marijuana enforcement in this city, something that the mayor, the speaker, and myself have been strongly engaged in over these last several years. The idea that the possession of marijuana is such that we could deal with that without making an arrest. You smoke it in the street, still subject to arrest, but officers have the discretion to basically do something other than arrest for dealing with that. So again, this is not a new posture in this city. It's been something that has been practiced going back to when I first came here 25 years ago, that we're using the range of tools. And so this issue here, its strength is that it provides a range of tools to the police officers. It focuses on the core of the problem, those selling and making the drug, while at the same time still giving us tools to deal with those who use it, but abuse it in a way that it requires a police intervention.
Marcia?
Mr. Mayor, actually, these are two questions for the police commissioner. An update on two issues. One, the escaped prisoner in the 7-5, and apparently a body was found in a sewer drain on 1st Avenue and 33rd.
On the issue of the body in the sewer drain, we have no details on that as we speak. That only made aware of that just a few minutes before this press conference began. On the issue of the escaped prisoner, once again, an embarrassment for the department, and something that we will deal with very severely as far as the officers involved. They're an embarrassment to themselves in terms of their professional skills or lack of them, and once again, letting a prisoner escape in this city. And they will be dealt with very appropriately for that incompetence. But I'll let Chief O'Neill, who formerly headed up the warrant squad that was involved in this morning's incident, speak to that.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Around 6 o'clock this morning, members of Brooklyn North Warrant Squad apprehended an individual, Gerald Brooks. As they brought him downstairs and put him into the van, he was able to push one of the detectives out of the way, and he escaped. Just let me say one thing about the warrant section. Unfortunately, I know the sergeant involved in this case. He's been in the warrant squad for a long time. He's put hundreds of very dangerous people in jail. He heads up the violent felony squad. So what happened to him this morning and the two other investigators involved, I'm sure both of them, all three of them, are absolutely embarrassed. We're looking for Gerald Brooks. This picture will be available. He's been locked up 54 times in the past, and he was currently wanted on 5 separate want cards. You want that again, Mary? Sure, no problem. I aim to please. All right, you get some more information from DCPI, his name, and the picture will go out electronically also. And as the commissioner said, all three of these, the two investigators and the sergeant, know that they're facing severe disciplinary issues now as a result of this.
What are the 54 things that you have?
It's a lot of domestic violence. I got it right here. Criminal contempt, aggravated unlicensed, marijuana, assaults, you name it, he's got it.
Can you just walk through the circumstances surrounding his escape? He pushed one of the detectives or all three? I don't know, if whatever you can provide in terms of a narrative of what happened.
All right, so they, as the warrant squad does, they get up very early in the morning. They go out the door at 4:30 in the morning. They made this apprehension around 5:45. As they bring him down and go to put him into the car, this is what's under investigation now. Was one investigator with him, was two, and was somebody on the other side of the car. The perp was able to push away from the investigator and was able to run down the street. They pursued him, but they lost him. So, you know, yeah, still handcuffed, rear handcuffed. Hopefully he's still wearing his cuffs, you know?
And was he picked up at his residence?
I don't know if it was his residence. Okay, he's got numerous wants on him. I think he's got a warrant on him too. So this is what we talk about all the time. This is a guy that's a problem. This is who I want the warrant squad to go out and get. But you know, they need to hold on to him. And then, you know, out of all units in the police department, I know they're all particularly embarrassed by this incident.
Commissioner Bratton, on the escaped prisoner issue, I remember the first prisoner who escaped from Harlem earlier this summer. One protocol that was put into place because he was a violent felon was to do the ankle shackles as well, the ankle cuffs. Is that something that you may be considering now in light of this?
Not in general circumstances, that if the cops would just pay attention to their responsibilities, a lot of this stuff would stop. The fact that these officers who do this for a living and allowed it to happen, we will treat that very severely. The fact that they are experienced professionals and let it happen, that once again we're now going to have to go look for this character. Sorry, we're not going to tolerate it. And I'll make that perfectly clear. They're an embarrassment to themselves, to their unit, to this department, and they're going to create a lot more work for this department as a result of their inefficiencies this morning. So we're not going to tolerate it. I'm getting tired of it, and as is the chief. Chief knows the officers involved because he headed this unit for many, many years. So you can believe it will be dealt with significant consequences within the department once we determine the circumstances. Very concerned when somebody with a pair of handcuffs, handcuffed behind them, can flee from 3 of my offices and they can't catch them. Sorry, there's something wrong there when that's happening repeatedly over and over again. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry?
I need to get some other people in. Go ahead.
Certainly. Okay.
Just for Commissioner Brett, the CCRB has been referring more officers for making false statements. There was a perjury case last week, a high-profile one. Last year, the CCPC reported that 2/3 of officers who make false statements keep their jobs. What's the department doing about false statements, and is it time to bring back the zero-tolerance policy?
The department looks very closely at every individual case and makes its disciplinary decisions. I'm the final arbiter of discipline, whether it's CCRB, department-initiated complaint. So on those issues that I make my decisions based on the totality of the circumstances. So I won't speak to the issue other than that each of these incidents has their own set of circumstances. So again, in general, it's an area of concern that is focused on by both the department and the CCRB, and one, as I indicate, we will deal with as they come across my desk, and I have the totality of the circumstances in each incident. Okay.
Hold on. Just let me say, everyone, we really have to get on to signing this bill, so I'll do just a few more. Ross?
Mayor Rahm Emanuel said last week that there's a chilling effect in terms of these videos being taken of police officers, coupled with the protests against police brutality, is making it harder for police to do their jobs. He was tying it to the rising Chicago murder rate. I want to just get your reactions to those comments, if the commissioner wants to react as well.
Well, I think quite clearly one of the things we try to impart to our officers is that cameras are everywhere, and further encouragement that they do perform their duties responsibly, professionally, and always within the law, never outside the law. And that on occasion, on rare occasion, considering the overall number of arrests we make, if they are found to be going outside the law, that they will be dealt with appropriately. As to a chilling effect, that I have not seen that based on the fact that crime is continuing to go down in this city. The arrest numbers that we're making still seem to be of a magnitude, and many of the stories that you report on the very aggressive posture of our officers to make arrests go toward the danger that continues. So ultimately it comes up to each officer's individual set of circumstances. Are they more concerned? They certainly are. At the same time, if they're doing what they're supposed to do appropriately, then they should have no concern.
And I just, hold on a sec, just to say, I agree with everything the Commissioner said, and I would add that, with additional training, with clearer use of force guidelines, these are the kinds of things that will help our officers to do their job well. And even if there are videos being taken, there will be nothing inappropriate to see. And on top of that, as the Commissioner said, we see consistently good work by the NYPD, proven by the decrease in crime overall. And a good example that deserves more attention is the increase in gun arrests, which are up almost 7% year-to-date compared to last year. And that's a great example of the effectiveness of the NYPD, even as the additional training is teaching the officers a better way of doing things.
Talking about the video, and I'm not quite sure if you've seen it yet, but within the hour, a group from Sunset Park...
This will be the last, let me just say, because we do have to get to bill signing. You ask your question, then we're going to go sign the bill.
I'll answer the question before you ask it. You were informed before this press conference that inasmuch as that incident just occurred, and we have not had the opportunity to view the video that you're referencing, we'd just ask the courtesy. Let us take a look at it before you ask questions about it. Thank you.
Haven't seen it.
He hasn't seen it, hasn't
Okay.
even heard about it.
That's right. Let's go take it. It's over here now.
right, thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Still, just back off, let the video have it, please. Still, please back to the side.
Okay.
Still, go all the way to the side. Good?
Don't walk in front of them.
Yeah, he's very manual, said, back up on the video. I haven't seen it. What happened? Video
Sorry. Guys, can we get back to the desk area? Desk area for the photo? Get Criminalizing.
Do some off-topic questions. Guys over there, just here we go. Everybody ready? Marcia.
Mr. Mayor, yesterday, the police commissioner said that he's going to have...
Wait a second, Marcia. Hold on one more second. Let's get quiet over there, please. Go ahead, Marcia.
Yesterday, the police commissioner said that he would have zero tolerance for homeless on the subways or subway platforms. I wonder if you agree with it, but also what steps has your administration taken to help the people who are homeless on the subways find shelter?
I agree with Commissioner Bratton 100%. We have no tolerance for people using the subways as a place to sleep overnight. It's not appropriate. In fact, we're very proud of our efforts to change the situation. NYPD and Department of Homeless Services have been working together. 773 chronically homeless individuals were moved out of the subway system and helped to housing or shelter over the last year. That's a huge number of people. Let's be clear, 773 people who were spending a lot of their time, most of their time in the subways, moved out to better alternatives. So we're going to continue that whenever we see someone in the subways who shouldn't be there. We've also been continuing to deepen our outreach efforts to help people to get to the things they need, whether it's shelter, safe havens, drug treatment, mental health services. So we've tripled our outreach staff over the last year so we can actually get people the help they need. I'm very proud of the fact that unlike the practice of the past, which tolerated a lot of these situations and tolerated the permanent homeless encampments, we've ended a lot of these problems that were profoundly unfair to the homeless and to people around them, to communities around them. But the trick is not just to end the encampments or move people out of the subway and call it a day. The important thing is to actually provide the services and the help so that people end up in housing and end up in the treatment they need.
Mr. Mayor?
Hold on one second. Go ahead, Michael.
Mr. Mayor, were you disappointed that you were unable to visit the West Bank during your visit to Israel this past weekend?
I think given the circumstance there, the way we handled it was correct. And I found the visit with the Israeli and Palestinian families, the Jewish and Arab families at the Hand in Hand School very moving. And a glimpse of some hope amidst a very, very tough situation. I mean, it was impossible to be there without feeling the pain that people are going through, the insecurity, the fear that people are feeling in Israel right now. But even in those moments, it's crucial to look for any example of hope, and I think visiting that school was exactly the right thing to do. Yes?
Mr. Mayor, you've attended a number of street namings for officers that were killed in the line of duty during your administration. Yesterday, a street was named for Philip Cardillo outside the police academy, 43 years after he was killed in the line of duty. And at that time, in 1972, the mayor didn't attend the funeral, the police commissioner didn't attend. Very politicized crime. The crime scene was mopped up.
Yeah, I know the history. So what's your question, please?
My question is, do you have regrets about not going to the ceremony?
I am very proud of the fact that my administration righted this wrong. So let's look at the actual facts. For 40 years, Officer Cardillo was not given the appropriate respect. And I was very proud to sign the bill that renamed the street after him. I was very proud of the decision that Commissioner Bratton brought to me, saying that they were looking forward to naming a police boat after him, and I agreed wholeheartedly. So the fact is this administration righted that wrong. I don't tend to go to street renamings for officers named in the killed in the past. I respect their service intensely. That's why I was part of the process of having the street renamed and the boat renamed after him. But I focus my energy on going to the events that commemorate those that we've lost during my time in office. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, are you waiting until after the presidential forum that is scheduled for December in Iowa to offer an endorsement?
I'm going to look at the situation and make a decision when I see fit. There's not a particular ground rule on it.
Progressive agenda signatories like Congresswoman Yvette Clarke say that they've already seen enough and they are ready to endorse Hillary and already have.
Well, if you look carefully at the folks who have signed on to the progressive agenda, there are a number of Hillary Clinton supporters. There's certainly a number of Bernie Sanders supporters. There's a number of folks who haven't endorsed any candidate. As I said, I am very pleased that Secretary Clinton made the decision she did on the trade issue, and I really look forward to sitting down with her and her team soon.
Up on the agenda, and the
Hold on. Be right with you, Aaron.
Yeah, another question about your Israel trip. You've in the past been very critical of Prime Minister Netanyahu's statements on the two-state solution. After meeting with him, do you continue to have those views that he is being counterproductive, or have you come to see more eye-to-eye with him?
Look, what we focused our conversation on was the current security situation, and obviously any steps that could be taken to move forward. My criticism of the Prime Minister at that point was that he had changed his position from supporting a two-state solution to opposing it, and then, as you know, in a short period of time, he changed it back. So his official position now, again, is that he supports a two-state solution, and that is the appropriate position from my point of view.
Mr. Mayor, it's just a few weeks away, this presidential forum in Iowa. The platform that's published, do you anticipate any changes, any additional policies added to it before then?
It's a coalition, so it's certainly possible, but so far the coalition that we've gathered agrees with the 14 points that are part of the plan and think that they really are the core of what's necessary to fight income inequality. So the forum is December 6th. It's 6 weeks or so away. And we think it's important to draw more attention onto these issues. Look, the Democratic debate, I want to give credit to the Democratic candidates. They did talk about some of these crucial issues. It deserves a lot more focus because issues of wages and benefits, progressive taxation, support for working families, these issues deserve a lot more attention, and they're what's on the mind of the American people. The Republican debate almost ignored all of those issues. So that's why what we are talking about is a bipartisan forum where each candidate can come one at a time and actually have to answer the questions that are on the mind of everyday people.
For critics who have complained about the fact that you are doing this in Iowa, that you're leaving New York again, that these are issues that are so important to New York City residents, what's your response to those?
I've said it many times. I'll happily say it again. You know, when I ran for office, I talked about fighting inequality. A lot of you asked a very pertinent question, can it all be done here in New York City with the tools we have? And I said very clearly, no, we need more. We're going to use every tool we have. And the tools that this city government has are substantial. The paid sick leave policy, the living wage executive order, what we're doing with affordable housing, what we're doing with making huge important programs like pre-K and after school available to families for free. All of those address income inequality in different ways. But the larger solutions to income inequality come through higher wages and benefits, which have to be mandated at the state or federal level. Comes through progressive taxation, so we can actually invest in things like mass transit and infrastructure, put a lot more people back to work and improve the quality of life for people. So many of these efforts cannot be done by us alone. We need the federal government to play a role. So then the natural question is, what's going to cause that change? The kinds of things we used to expect from Washington, D.C., what's going to bring that back? The only thing that will bring that back is a different public debate in this country. And I'm trying, as one of the leaders of urban America, to change the discussion, to get our candidates on all levels to talk about income inequality and what they're willing to do about it. If we don't have that conversation, nothing will change. If nothing changes, the people of New York City will suffer. That's why it's worth putting attention on where the actual decisions are made. And we all know that the first place that the future of our country will be decided is in Iowa. So that's exactly the right place to have the conversation. Hold on a sec.
This summer when you called us into your office, you said you would call out Governor Cuomo if he messed with the city. With the exception of the MTA, you've been relatively quiet. How do we interpret your silence on the governor?
I'll do exactly as I said. When I think it's time to say that either I think he did something to help the city, as I think was the case with the MTA decision, or if I think something's being done that hurts the city, I'll say that, and we'll do that case by case.
So he's done nothing to hurt the city?
Again, we're going to do it case by case.
The conference you attended in Israel was sponsored by donors to the Campaign for One New York, and some of your events were attended by donors to your campaign. What would you say about the impression that money can buy one access to the mayor of the city?
It's absolutely ridiculous. The conference of mayors from around the world has been held for 30 years or more, actually long before those individuals were involved. It was a natural point to come and talk about the issue that I originally came to talk about, which was anti-Semitism in the West, which, as I talked about in the speech in Jerusalem, is a growing problem. And I saw it firsthand in Paris back in January. Obviously, the trip took on added meaning because of the security crisis in Israel. The community leaders who are there are major community leaders from the Jewish community, some of whom were there anyway because of other work they do. So I think people are fishing for something that isn't there. I was proud to be there to work on the issues I care about.
Mr. Mayor, you're slated to meet with former Mayor Bloomberg at a public event. Could you talk a little bit about why now, why this event, and how did this come about? Did you personally invite him to this?
It's obviously an important milestone for something he cared a lot about, the millionth tree. And look, I said this a lot in 2013. There's some real areas I disagree with Mayor Bloomberg on, some areas I agree with him on. And where I agreed with him, I said we would try and continue the work he was doing and build upon it. When it came to environmental issues, I thought Mayor Bloomberg did some very, very important things for this city. And the very crucial part of that was, making sure there was more open space and a better environment for our people. So the Million Trees was a great initiative, something he has every right to be proud of. We were coming up on the ultimate goal, and we thought it was appropriate to invite him to join. I was equally happy to stand with him at the Cornell Technion groundbreaking on Roosevelt Island, which is another part of his legacy that I'm very, very happy to build upon. So, it's always going to be consistency with what we think is good for New York City and giving credit where credit is due, and he certainly deserves credit for that. Thanks, everyone.